Proving nature's laws wrong and learn how to walk without having.
So now, what we've all been waiting for, Dr. Michael J Sorrell. He said to keep it simple, so we will try. There's so much about him, but we will try. He's the 34th president of Paul Quinn College in Dallas, Texas. And under his leadership, Paul Quinn College is experiencing one of the greatest turnarounds in the history of higher education and is regularly mentioned nationally as one of the most innovative schools in the country. An attorney and a former White House staffer, Dr. Sorrell brought a bold new vision to the college, focusing on academic rigor, experiential learning, and entrepreneurship. He also pioneered what he named the urban work college model, based on Paul Quinn College's dramatic success. So when Dr. Sorrell took the helm as college president in 2007, enrollment had been declining for more than 5 years, and the college was close to being shut down. Today, it is considered a shining model of urban education and generally has a waiting list. With a rallying cry of "we over me," and I love that, "we over me," and a mission to end poverty, Dr. Sorrell led a movement as well as a total transformation. Dr. Sorrell has received numerous awards and recognition for his civic and educational leadership. He is the only third-time recipient of the HBCU President of the Year Award and was named one of America's 10 most innovative college presidents. I would say Google him. He's also received Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. and Push's Excels Education Leadership Award. Dr. Sorrell received a BA from Oberlin, a JD and an MA in Public Policy from Duke University, and a doctorate from the University of Pennsylvania. So join me in welcoming to the stage Dr. Michael Sorrell.
Thank you, babe. All right. Let me help you down this stuff. You good? You good? All right. Well, I offered. I didn't want you to think I had bad home training, so. Good evening. Okay, all right. So, my friend with the Osage Nation got a wonderful applause. The movie got an amazing applause, and I get a tepid hello, all right? So no. We're gonna establish some ground rules here tonight, see? Because I don't think you realize Paul Quinn College is a historically black college. Historically, thank you to the 8 of you who went to HBCUs, right? Historically, black colleges come from the black church tradition. The black church tradition is a call and response tradition. That means when I say something to you, you are supposed to say something back to me. You are heathens that don't go to church, okay? So let's try this a little bit differently, okay? Not to mention the fact my 9-year-old son is here with me tonight, and you have to establish a good example for him, right? Stand up, Mike. Say hello to everyone. All right. So, for all of those reasons, let's try this again. Good evening. Now, what I also didn't tell you was that in black churches, we pass the offering plate, okay? So you all have now become donors to Paul Quinn College. Welcome to the Quinnite Nation, all right? It is absolutely wonderful to be here with you tonight, and really the most wonderful part about this for me is that I am the son of a social worker, all right? That's right. My mother ran a social work agency in Chicago, Lutheran Social Services. Thank you to you, thank you. And I grew up watching her care for the aged, watching her every day go out committed to making people's lives better. And that was a gift for me because my father was an entrepreneur. We owned an incredibly successful barbecue restaurant in Chicago, and which my parents pointed out when I stopped eating pork, that pork put me through school, right? And that I got, highfalutin once I got through school. But I digress, all right? The point is that I am who I am today because I watched my mother serve. And Paul Quinn College is who it is today because the legacy of our history and me having watched my mother serve gave us the confidence to be who we are. So on behalf of all the people who may never tell you thank you, for all the lives that you may not fully appreciate how much you changed, for the generations that are better people because you exist, please, please allow me to say thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you. Now let's talk about the future of higher education, because that's what we want to talk about tonight. So I want to start with a quote by Václav Havel. Havel was the former president of the Czech Republic and had this amazing life. And, we sometimes tend to think of civil rights heroes in singular terms as if they only come from one place. But there are people all over the world engaged in the fight to make life better. And this particular quote of his, I think, is incredibly important now, considering all that is going on around us. I feel that the dormant goodwill in people needs to be stirred. People need to hear that it makes sense to behave decently or to help others, to place common interest above their own, to respect the elementary rules of human coexistence. Now see, you know that already because of what you do. So I realize that I am preaching to the choir, but the reality of it is some of you know people who don't go to church. So they're going to need to be reminded of this very fact. We exist because we share common interest. And we share common interests that bind us together. I feel sorry for people who are so insecure about those that are different from them that they attack those individuals or they want to pull apart. If we are going to go forward in higher education, we have to embrace the fact that we are all in this together. And what we're going to talk about tonight is what togetherness looks like. Is that okay? Yes. All right. Thank you to this side of the room. We will work on you all. We will work on you all. So this is what I want to talk about. If we're going to talk about the future of education, let's start with the children. And the reality of it is America is at war against its future. It is hard to see the decisions that we make in this country and not think that we're at war against our future. This picture, no child should live like this. And we know children do live like this. I know children live like this because I get up off my campus and help recruit. So I go into the neighborhoods that my students come from. I go into the schools that they come from. I walk the streets that they walk. In some cases, their families are kind enough to invite me into their homes and feed me because, as you can tell, I don't miss many meals, right? This is how people are living. And if this is how our children are living, how can you come to the conclusion that we are doing anything other than waging war against our future? In K-12, our students are poor. In this country, over 51% of the students in public K-12 education live in low-income families. The entire southern rung of our country, the students are living in poverty. That's over 50%. Some states, California is at 55%. Texas, where we are from, 60%. It is hard to believe that we are not at war against our future when our children are living in poverty. And let's talk about what it means to grow up in poverty for a moment. Now, I know we hear stories about people who overcome poverty, and I am glad that we do. But we also have to know the stories that the children who grow up in poverty are most at risk for every negative outcome in life. They're more at risk to be abused. They're more at risk to have mental health issues. They're more at risk to be physically ill. They're more at risk to drop out of school. They're more at risk to be truant. They are more at risk of failing in life. But yet we somehow think it's okay in this country that the majority of our children grow up in low-income communities and families. You cannot make me believe that we are not at war against the future of our country when numbers like this exist. Our students are unprepared. 45% of the people, only 45% of the students who took the SAT in 2019 made college-ready scores. Here's the problem with that. Those are just the students who thought they were college-ready and took the test. What about all the students who didn't think they were college-ready? What about the students who didn't really have the expectations of going to college, who didn't go forward, sign up, and take the SAT? So the reality of it is less than 40% of our high school students were deemed college-ready in 2019. But it gets worse. That 29%, that 20%, those are the figures for our Latino and African American children. Well, I don't know if I clap about that. Oh, well, let the church say amen then, all right? Amen, right? 80% and 71% of our minority children in this country are not college ready. It is impossible to come to the conclusion that we are not at war against our future when our students aren't even college ready. Our graduates from our colleges, though, they're not prepared either. 79% of employers expect real-world work experience when they hire for their entry-level jobs. Now, that's a little odd. It's an entry-level job. So where are you supposed to get the real-world work experience when you were in college and you thought you were being hired at an entry-level position? Turns out they expect it to come from colleges. But apparently our students expect it to come from there too, because 50% of college graduates wish that college had given them real-world work experience. So the employers want it, the students want it. Apparently the only people who don't want it are the people who run colleges and universities. Right? Because how do you not listen to the marketplace? You don't listen to the marketplace because you are tone deaf. Right? The future of education is going to require leaders who aren't tone deaf, which means some changes have to occur. But traditional higher education is unprepared. 75% of all college students work more than 20 hours per week. Even though we know that the data says if you work more than 20 hours per week, you're at risk of failing academically. 40% of undergraduates and 76% of graduate students work at least 30 hours per week. So we know they're struggling. We know they're struggling. But ask yourself this question: how many of our institutions have fundamentally changed themselves to adapt to the students who are actually coming in their doors? Not the ones they wish came in their doors. Not their Ivy League envy students. And if any of you are from Ivy Leagues, God bless you, my degrees came from them, I love those places, but that can't be the standard. Because the majority of people coming through educational doors aren't going to those types of schools. They're coming to places like Paul Quinn. So nowhere in the history of mankind do we expect revolutions to take place from above except higher education. Why would the king ever vote to overthrow himself? It doesn't work that way, right? Revolutions start from below. They start from the people who are unhappy because they see an injustice and they move on it. It is movement time. It is movement time. But it is hard to believe that it's movement time. It's hard to believe that we aren't at war against our future when our schools don't even pay attention to the realities of our students. But it gets worse. Our schools are too expensive, right? So our students are coming from low-income families. where they already don't have enough money. They are coming to college because they want to get jobs, because they're coming from low-income families where they need money, and we think it's okay to leave them in bone-crushing, soul-crushing debt for the majority of their lives. We are drug dealers. Think about it, right? We are peddling dope. 70% of people who graduate from colleges graduate with significant debt. 44 million college graduates have $1.5 trillion of debt. And the average student loan debt is $37,000. Come on. Come on. I can't be the only person that thinks this is madness, right? We have to be better. We have to be better. And here's the thing. You all as social work educators, you see this. Because I suspect, in fact, let's just play a hunch. How many of you have actually been social work practitioners? Come on. You know this is madness. You know this doesn't work. You know. So we're going to have to do something about it, because the cavalry's not coming. Billionaires made so much money in 2017 that they could have eradicated poverty 7 times over. Does poverty still exist? Then I guess they decided not to do anything about it. And by the way, this isn't saying that they needed to give all their money. They just said 1 year. So 1 year, you stop buying a new Gulfstream. I don't know what you do with that much money. Let me be very, very clear, right? Because I think you have to run out of stuff to buy at some point, okay? But if they're not coming, then it's on us. It's on us to stand in the gap, right? This is what standing in the gap looks like. Welcome to Paul Quinn College and the Quinnite Nation. We call ourselves a nation because we believe we are creating a movement. We are committed to leaving places better than we found them. This is Jasmine Norman. Jasmine Norman was salutatorian of her class in Memphis, Tennessee. She is wonderful. She is a first semester senior this year at Paul Quinn College. She's going to graduate in 3.5 years. She is extraordinary. We do a project every other year or so with a group called Dear World, where we invite them to campus and they help us go through this exercise where we write on our bodies who we want or what we want people to know about us and what we represent. Jasmine, now this looks like a crowd infinitely more familiar with Tupac than the last group I talked to. All right? Take that as you will, okay, all right? But the last group I looked at, they were like, we don't really know this Tupac fellow, right? I was like, okay, all right. We're going to build some cultural competency here, okay? All right? But Tupac wrote a poem. And Tupac, by the way, is a rhythmic American poet, all right? And for those of you, thank you. That's the higher ed way of saying he was a rapper, okay? All right? And Tupac wrote a poem that talked about being roses that grow from concrete. Because if you grow up in an under-resourced community, that's your hope. Your hope is that you are a rose that will grow from the concrete. Because all around you, you see the hard times of concrete. You see the hard times of your life. Well, at Paul Quinn College, we know roses grow from concrete. 85% of our students are roses that grow from concrete because they're Pell Grant students. Okay, 70% of those students get 0 expected family contributions. 40% of our students come from outside the state of Texas. We're a national institution. We're recruiting students from the inner cities of America because that's where we go. Here's a little surprise for you though. 20% of our students are Latino. So we don't care what color you are. What we care is that you believe in what we believe, because we understand something simple about people. People typically care about 3 things. They want a chance to earn enough money to support themselves and fulfill their dreams. They want to live in a safe community, and when they have children, they want their children to have great places to go to school. That's not a black issue. That's not a white issue. That's not an American Indian issue. It's not an Asian American issue. It's a people issue, right? We all want those things. So we think we should be a school that provides people those pathways. Now, we are absolutely a historically black college. We are proud of that. We have no interest in changing that. But we're so secure with who we are in our culture that we can welcome others and not lose a moment of sleep. All right? So we know roses grow from concrete, but we also know that every rose doesn't bloom on the first day of spring. So we are here for the whole spring, not just the first day, all right? This is what we believe, and this is what we think the future of education should look like. We believe that educational institutions should turn themselves outward and address the needs of the day, not just the needs that people will pay for, okay? We have built an institution, thank you. We have built an institution that responds to the needs of the communities we serve. When we were in a food desert, we fought food deserts. When we had environmental justice issues, we fought those. This is what we do. This is why we exist. This is our institutional ethos. We over me. The needs of a community supersede the wants of an individual. You don't get to be selfish at Paul Quinn College, right? We have values. The future of higher education must be institutions who have values that are something more than just research assignments and producing people who get rich and give you billions of dollars for your endowment. It's cool to have $1 billion. I mean, I wouldn't know, but I guess it's cool to have $1 billion endowment, all right? But it is cooler to stand for the people who need you to stand for them, right? That is the future of higher education. We over me. These are our values. We believe in something called the 4 L's of Quinnite leadership. Leave places better than you found them. Live a life that matters. Lead from wherever you are and love something greater than yourself. Right? That's the future of higher education. We have a character test. We tell our students all the time, you better choose the harder right over the easier wrong without apparent regard to self-interest. It is easy to make the right decision when you are on a stage and public scorn will fall upon you if you choose incorrectly. It is much more challenging to do right when wrong can be gotten away with and it makes you a bunch of money, right? That doesn't make you the kind of person that we admire or that we adhere or that we aspire our students to become. We tell our students, closed mouths don't get fed, right? Because if you grow up in an under-resourced community, your whole life has been a repudiation of that concept. Because if your voice mattered, your life and your community wouldn't look like it does. Right? So we tell our students, time out for that. Right? Speak up, stand up, show up, push back. You can push back against us. Right? We will practice. Now don't go crazy, right? I mean, we're still on the same team, but let's work on this together. All right? Closed mouths don't get fed. Then, again, like I said before, we believe you can be my kind and not be my color. Right? We just need you to be our kind. We believe poverty is evil. And we put it in those terms, right? Because it is unconscionable that in a nation with this type of wealth, that 40+ million people live in poverty. I don't know how we sleep at night as a collective country, right? Because that is a black mark on our soul, right? Or depending upon how you look at it, it might be a white mark, whatever your thing is, right? We believe debt is bad. We think that the idea that we tell people who live in poverty that the way out of debt is to rack up thousands of dollars of debt, the way out of poverty is to rack up thousands of dollars in debt is one of the most asinine things we have ever heard, right? It is absolutely ridiculous. We think everyone can learn. but we don't think everyone should teach. Right? I tell people all the time, you should not lead people that you do not love. Okay? If you don't love them, what are you doing? Why are you in the classroom? Right? If you're not willing to pour into them, to learn about them, to learn about the communities they come from, their voices, then what are you doing? Have respect for the people that you lead to learn about them. You know, I am fascinated by the whole diversity and inclusion piece because I think it's sad that we need it, right? Because I think if we had the hearts we were supposed to have, we would do the right things. Now, I'm not so naive to believe that we have the hearts that we're supposed to have. So we're going to need these programs until we get those hearts. But you can't convert people just by talking about jobs. You convert them by talking about values and talking about their soul and talking about respect. We think that the fundamental contract in higher education is that we are guaranteeing our students that their next will be better than their now. I mean, otherwise, what are you coming for? Right? Like, I didn't go to college to just go backwards. Our next must be better than our now. These are our beliefs. We have a formula. We preach hope. We practice patience. We instill resilience. We teach our students to be entrepreneurial in thought and action. And at all times, we try and lead with love. And the last one is the absolute most important. And I need to explain how we got there. We stumbled on this, or let me be very personal. I stumbled on it, all right? When I took the job at Paul Quinn, I had just turned 40, and I took over a school that had 30 days of cash left and was going to close in about 18 months, which, by the way, is not what they told me. In fact, let's talk about how I got this job. If people call you and offer you a job that you didn't apply for, y'all, there's a catch, okay? There's a catch. I didn't apply for this job. In fact, I was driving down the highway on my way to go scout Kevin Durant, right? And those of you who are basketball fans, you know who Kevin Durant is. If you aren't a basketball fan, become one. It's a great sport, okay? But I was part of a group that had secured an agreement to purchase the Memphis Grizzlies. I was going to be president of the Memphis Grizzlies and have a small ownership stake. I was about to lead the Range Rover phase of my life, okay? I know I said my mama was a social worker, but I wasn't a social worker, okay? I was trying to get paid, okay? All right? So the new chair of the board was a bishop in the AME Church, Bishop Gregory Ingram, who I love dearly. Bishop Ingram said, hey, how'd you like to be president of Paul Quinn College? And literally, that was the conversation, because I'm driving down the highway. And I said, thank you, I think. I'm flattered, but we're buying a basketball team. I'm getting ready to move to Memphis. I'm going to be the president. I have no idea how much you guys are going to pay me, but they're going to pay me more, right? And he says, well, look, man, you can do both. You can be president of Paul Quinn and be president of Memphis Grizzlies. And I'm like, look, it's on Bluetooth, so I'm looking around like, what is he talking about? I was like, you can't do both. I said, I can't be president of a college in Texas and president of an NBA franchise in Tennessee. I was like, you are a bishop in the church. You can't lie like this, right? And so he says, well, just think about it, okay? So I'm like, all right, I'll think about it. So I keep driving. I call my sister, and it's my younger sister. I only have just she and I. She's 18 months younger, and this will give you a window into like just our relationship. I said, sis, guess what? And she's like, I can only imagine. I said, I just got offered the job to be president at Paul Quinn College. She's like, what? But you don't know anything about education. She's like, I mean, you went to a bunch of schools, and I mean, you got some degrees, but I'm the teacher. I teach. I went to school. I have a master's degree in urban education. I have a master's degree in instructional technology. I am a Chicago public school teacher. She's going on and on and on. I was like, yes, but they didn't call you, did they? Right? She's just like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. She's like, do you know who you are? I was like, yes, I'm the new president at Paul Quinn College, right? She says, no, you are the Black Forrest Gump. Stuff just happens for you, right? She's like, well, are you gonna play Olympic ping pong next? She's like, she is incredulous, right? But here's the thing, she was absolutely right, okay? I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I mean, it's one of those moments where you don't even know enough to know how impossible what you are agreeing to is, all right? So I take the job, and it is clear to me, I mean, we had 15 abandoned buildings, the whole front of the campus. We had more abandoned buildings than we had populated buildings, right? We were in trouble, and I was stressed out. Every day I would pass by, we had this hall with the pictures of all the presidents, all 34 of us, and I was the last picture on the wall. And every day I went home thinking that if I didn't get this right, I would be the last picture on the wall. That the school would have survived Reconstruction, it would have survived the Great Depression, it would have survived Jim Crow, but it would not have survived Michael Sorrell, right? And let me tell you something, that is not what you want on your Wikipedia page, okay? Michael Sorrell, college killer, right? So I'm stressed out, and I get into an argument with one of my male students. And look, it is, one of the things you need to know about me is like, I'm gonna tell you it all, right? Like, I believe in authenticity, right? So it wasn't my proudest moment. I'm yelling at him, he's yelling at me. We probably were using words that I don't want my son to know about. And they weren't, yeah, I know, son, just pray for me, right? And it wasn't a positive conversation. And he gets up to my office, and he just breaks down in tears. And I'm sort of like, how you gonna be cussing me out in public, get behind closed doors and break down in tears? Now, the other thing I need to tell you is I grew up in Chicago, right? Men crying, not a good look in Chicago, right? Male weakness is not rewarded in Chicago, all right? So I wasn't anywhere near the man I needed to be at that moment. Okay, I had no idea what to do with another man crying in front of me, right? I mean, I had not reached that point of sensitivity yet, right? And so I'm just like, how you gonna sit here and cry and cuss me out? Like you're fake tough, right? I mean, it was not a good look, right? I had one of my staff members with me, quintessential Southern mother, right? Older, she comforted him, she loved him. She probably was a social worker, to be honest with you. Comforted him, loved on him, and got him out of the office. Then she comes back in, she sits down, she looks at me with nowhere near veiled disgust, okay? She was disgusted. And she looks, she shakes her head, she says, baby. When somebody starts out like that, it's a wrap, okay? She says, baby, I met your mother. And she had met my mother. She's like, your mother was tough on you. You grew up in a family that believed in tough love. She said, but you have never spent 1 second of your life wondering if you were loved. She said, in fact, you bear all the signs of being overloved. I'm like, it's like, I'm gonna let you make it on that one because I think we're headed to a bigger point. But I don't want you to think I missed that you just talked about my mama, right? Like, and she said, you have spent your whole life being loved. So if you hear tough, you automatically think that it's someone who loves you. She said, but let me ask you something. If you have never known love, would you know anything other than tough? Would you hear anything other than tough? She said, I know you love us, and I know you love this school, but if you want us to trust you, if you want us to follow you, you're going to need to learn how to lead with love. The single best leadership advice I have ever been given, right? And here's the thing. That leadership advice didn't just change me, it saved me. It saved me because it helped me become a better man. Becoming a better man made me a better college president. Becoming a better college president allowed me to change the environment that we were in. And I would tell you, leading with love saved our school. But I would also, from a very personal point out that, like, when I took this job, I was not married. I had no children. Somehow leading with love changed me to the point where I have this extraordinary wife. I have these two beautiful kids, and I am happy in ways that I did not know existed, right? So thank you. So you have to have the courage to confront your demons in every way, personally and professionally. And if the higher education is going to have the future that our students needed to have, we have to start slaying demons. Let's talk about slaying demons. The biggest demon right now is poverty. So at Paul Quinn College, we have decided that we're going to eradicate intergenerational poverty. That's our goal. That is what we exist to do. To do that, to serve those who have never been served, you must do what has never been done. This is my Vice President of Academic Affairs. This is the way we think at Paul Quinn. So this is what the future of higher education looks like. Something called reality-based education. We need to start structuring the academic experience to mirror the things that our students have gone through and that they care about, right? Here's how we have done that. We created the urban work college model. You come to Paul Quinn College, you get a job. Because let's be honest, the students are already working. The data told us they were already working. The thing is, they're working in jobs that are compromising their academic potential. If you work the midnight shift and you have an 8 o'clock class, you don't have an 8 o'clock class. Because if you make it to the 8 o'clock class, your mind isn't in the 8 o'clock class. And let me let all of you in on a little secret. You better hope your doctors didn't work the midnight shift and had an 8 o'clock class, because you're going to die. Okay? Let's be clear. This is what it looks like at Paul Quinn. All of our students work if they live on campus. We reduce tuition and fees by $10,000. Okay? We were charging about $24,000 a year, which wasn't that much compared to everybody else in the country. But if your students don't have it, they don't have it. And it's not cool being a bill collector against your students. Wait, are you okay? Oh, okay. I was like, my own child is leaving? Right? This is not going well, okay? This is not going well. His mother is not going to be happy, all right? But we reduced it because our students couldn't afford it, right? And we created a pathway where students can graduate with just over $10,000 of debt if they so choose. We have reduced student loan debt by average student loan debt at Paul Quinn by almost $25,000, right? Our students get 2 to 4 years of internships, which provide them real-world work experience, which again is what the marketplace and the data said that is what people want. So we then went out and asked our friends in corporate America. And by corporate America, we just mean people who hire people, right? So those are nonprofits, those are schools. It's just a blanket term, all right? Because it's easier than saying nonprofit, for-profit, people who give jobs, okay? So we asked them, what do people need to know? What do our students need to know in order to thrive in the workplace? They said they have to be able to write well. They need to be able to speak persuasively and well. They need to be able to work in teams to solve real-world complex problems. And they need to be digitally literate. So we went back and we said, well, that's sort of like the liberal arts. But people hate the liberal arts now. So maybe we need to call it something else. So we're like, well, we're Paul Quinn. We made it up. We'll call it the Quinnite Arts. If your school had made it up, you could call it whatever. the Utes Arts, right? Whatever you want to call it, right? After Utah. But you didn't, so it's the Quinnite Arts. All right? So every single course you take at Paul Quinn, you do these 4 things. You have to demonstrate that you can write, so writing across the curriculum. In every course you write papers. And we start with the basics. First semester, you learn how to write a proper email. And look, because I can't take any more emails where people just send you stuff and they're like, yo. I'm like, yo, what, right? What am I supposed to do about this? So, but just so you don't think we have turned our back on scholarship, as seniors, you have progressed to the point where you do a senior thesis. All right, so we start with emails and we end with senior thesis, all right? Next up, we do speaking across the curriculum. So every course requires you to get up and give public presentations. We do critical thinking across the curriculum, which is really us using group projects. So every single course requires you to work in teams to solve complex real problems. That is my favorite because people hate it. Right? The students hate it. I mean, you find out things that you don't want to know when you get group projects. My favorite are the people who are the free riders, who don't do any work. Then you've got the type A personalities, right? Because the free riders don't do any work because they can't stand Miss So-and-so. She's doing too much, Prez. Well, she's doing too much because you do too little, right? So you have to learn to navigate all that. Okay, because that's what happens when you graduate. So every course requires you to do that. Then every course requires you to demonstrate that you're building digital literacy. And that is deeper than Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter. Okay? We want to know that you can do it. But we're taking this a step further. Starting next fall, each year you have the opportunity to earn 1 to 2 digital certificates and badges. Right? So we're going to start with something simple like Microsoft Office. And then we're going to graduate all the way up to data science and all the other things that go with that, coding and all of that. So here's what this effectively means, to put it all together. You will graduate from Paul Quinn College in 4 years having paid collectively less than $65,000 for a college degree. You will get 3 masteries. Subject matter mastery is what you majored in. Experiential learning mastery, because you've had 4 years of real world work experience. And then lastly, you'll have 4 to 8 digital certificates. So what we have effectively done is saying, even if you spend 1 semester with you, we have left you better than we found you, because we have poverty-proofed higher education. That's the future of higher education, right? But the future of higher education also is about wraparound services. These are things that you all know about. So we do Summer Bridge. You come to Paul Quinn. If you're a Pell Grant student for Summer Bridge, you don't pay to come. You get 9 academic credit hours. That's important because you need to average 15 to graduate on time. 9 means that we have gotten you over halfway to graduating early, all right, which we think is important. But there's something else that's important about Summer Bridge. The first 2 professors are myself and the Vice President of Academic Affairs. So for 6 weeks, 4 days a week, over 2 hours a day, we stand in front of our incoming students and we get to know them, right? We get to know who they are and we get to know whose they are. And that has had the single greatest impact on our institution because it says everything to our students. We have a mental health culture, right? So you enter Paul Quinn College, you get a mental health assessment. Because our students are traumatized. They're coming from places of trauma. That doesn't mean that they're ruined. It doesn't mean that they have to stay in the dark. Listen, all of us go through things. All of us go through things. And if you don't think you're going through things, you're either in the middle of going through it right now or you have one hell of a surprise coming soon. Okay? There is no crime to going through things. There is no crime to having a period in the dark unless no one shows you how to turn back on the light. We turn on the lights for our students. We have town hall meetings. Everybody, you come to our campus, you'll hear people talking about, I need to go see the counselor. Publicly, there is no shame in getting help for what you need. We created an Office of Prestigious Opportunities, because it sounds cool. No, because we used to have an Office of Career Development, but we wanted people to understand you deserve prestigious lives. So let's help you get those. The other thing we did with that is we have a program where we are grooming students to become Rhodes Scholars and Fulbright Fellows. And thank you. And I'll tell you why. Because I got tired of reading the Rhodes Scholars list, and everybody comes from the same 5 schools. So I called up those schools. I was like, hey, what are you doing? Because this can't be random. They said, oh, no. We start identifying people in the application pool. Then when they arrive on campus, we have special coaches, and we do all these things. And I was like, of course you do. So now we do too, okay? All right? All right. We revised the academic calendar. Let me ask you a question. Why do we come back to school after Thanksgiving? Like, everyone is miserable for those next 2 weeks. But here's something else to think about. If you're a Pell Grant student, you can't afford to go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So you spend your Thanksgiving in the company of benevolent souls who invite you in, reminding you that you couldn't afford to go home and have Thanksgiving with your family. Nobody deserves that. So we just decided we cut the semester at Thanksgiving. So we're done at Thanksgiving. You know who loves that the most? The faculty, right? The faculty. I see the faculty after Thanksgiving and they're just like, right? They are like, we love you, Prez, we love you. The other thing about that is, I can then, we've established this tradition. If everyone at the college gets their work done, the day that everyone's work is done, we all go home for Christmas, right? So that is generally 2 weeks of vacation time, of extra vacation time. Like, we don't charge them for it. That's our gift to them because, the Department of Education says you can't give bonuses. Like, they're bringing me down, right? So we reward our staff from working collectively and doing great things that way. Last thing that we do differently too, we have a travel abroad requirement. So now if you go to Paul Quinn College to graduate, you have to travel abroad. But we have made it affordable. So that time that we get done at Thanksgiving, that's allowed us to create December term. You can go study abroad for 2 weeks in December and be back home for Christmas. It changes lives. Here's the other thing that we've done. We qualify Native American land and tribal colleges as studying abroad because those are sovereign nations. All right? So this allows you to have that experience because with all due respect to Europe, to South America, Central, all those other places, we need to learn about what happened in our own home first, right? Because it was wrong in ways that we can't even begin to discuss right now. But let's talk about our success. We terminated our football program and turned our football field into a farm. Right? We did that, 1, because we couldn't afford football. 2, let's be honest, right? I mean, here's one. Unless you're in a Power 5 conference, neither can your school, okay? We can't afford it. But also because our community was in a food desert. So how did we look playing football when people couldn't eat? You look silly. But we ended the food desert because we worked with the city to open up a grocery store in that community. Because we were closer to the city garbage dump than a grocery store, right? But that's no longer the case. So our turn yourself outward strategy ended a food desert. It also produced these numbers. At graduation, 84% of our students have jobs. At graduation. Because look, your parents didn't send you to college for us to send you back unemployed, right? And not to say, well, we were unemployed for just 6 months. That's 6 months of you eating their food, Right? No. 84% are employed. If you're in our corporate work program, everyone has a job at graduation. Our retention rate is 71%. Now, thank you, but I want it to be 90%. I will take the 71% now because it was 33% when I started. All right? Our enrollment, you heard that it was steady declining. In my first 2 years as a college president, we lost 80% of our enrollment. Okay? But in the 2-3 years prior to that time, the school had lost 400 plus students. From 2003 to 2010, we lost 800 students. Since that time, we've increased enrollment 250%. Right? So we're excited about that. Thank you. These are our partners. These are just some of the people who have partnered with us. Duke did this amazing project. In fact, I'm going to brag about my alma mater for a second. It is extraordinary to find alums from someone else's college agree to adopt and mentor your students. And that is what Duke alumni have done. So the Duke North Texas Alumni Chapter has a program where every year they adopt 20 plus students and they mentor them. It is going so well. One of the students petitioned me last week to have her mentor on stage with us when she graduates to hand her her degree, right? It's just fantastic, so we're very proud of them. Things are going so well, we've opened up another campus. We opened up a campus, PQC Plano, which is our first expansion campus, but our plan, we're going to open up campuses all across the country. All right, we have partnered with Boston Consulting Group to create a replication model. So we are replicating what we do so that everyone can have access to that experience. All right, we've covered a lot of things. I've gone way longer than I was supposed to. So as an educator, we're going to recap what we've learned here today, okay? We learned that if you really want to have the kind of future in higher education our students deserve, you need to have values, then you need to know those values, and then you need to live up to those values. Number 2, you need to dream bigger dreams. If all you're doing is solving your department issue, with all due respect, I need you to level up, okay? Dream bigger dreams. Real recognizes real. You can't fake this, right? If you don't love your students, if you don't embrace your students, they will know. They will know. They will call you out. Learn to love the people you lead. Real recognizes real. You're going to stumble. You're going to make some mistakes. When you make them, fall forward. So when you fail, fail forward. Right? I am an epic failure. If we had more time, I would fill you in on all my shortcomings. But I keep going. Because if you dream big enough, you're going to stumble sometimes. It's just how it is. Be fearless. Lead as if you always have someplace else to go. Don't lead small. Right? Don't do small, safe things because you're afraid. Right? Somebody else will hire you unless you're small. People hire people who dream boldly. Right? Now, check your ego. Don't fall in love with your own stuff. All right? Always ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? Now, by the same token, don't always assume everyone else is right. Don't assume the status quo is right. Because let's be honest, it wasn't that long ago that women couldn't vote. That was status quo. Wasn't that long ago, we were slaves. That was status quo. So if people hadn't stopped and challenged those things, we wouldn't be who we are today. Don't assume the status quo is right. Know great love. Find something that you believe in. Something that you can embrace and spend your life chasing that. It will make you a better person. And then the last one, have fun. Right? Life is hard enough. Enjoy what you do. Celebrate what you do. The best way to do that is to have a great soundtrack. So, very shortly, it's the last thing we're going to do. Let's talk about your favorite music. Okay? Let's find out what your favorite song is. So, we're going to start with you. Yes. What's your favorite song?
Can we have Smokey back?
We can have Smokey back. You want to do that one?
Yeah.
So what was the name of that song?
I forget.
The Tracks of My Tears. There we go, yeah. All right, Tracks of My Tears. That's her favorite song. Oh, I think you know. So this is an interesting moment in character because people always have a favorite song and then they have their for public consumption favorite song, right? The favorite song that they want you to know about them. That might not really be the song they listen to when no one else is around. I'm after your no one else is around song. All right? What's your favorite song?
One of my favorite songs, No Doubt, Settle Down.
Oh, No Doubt, Settle Down. I like it. All right.
Oh, goodness. I'm blanking on the name.
Pressure. Yeah. Pressure.
In my head. Yeah. I could say that.
Let's see what you get. That's how we do everything now, right? That says Metallica. Wait for it. Very safe, good choice. Wait for it. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, right? See, I would have picked him, but you pointed at him, all right? We over me, okay? What's your favorite song?
I'll make it up.
That's okay.
Public consumption.
For public consumption.
No one will know. I am from India,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a Bengali, and the song is Akla Chalo Re. So if no one is with you, still walk forward a little.
If no one is with you, still walk forward. And it's an Indian song. I love it. We're building cultural bridges here. All right, let's see. Because you won't look at me. Oh, yes. What's your favorite song?
I like Beatles.
You like the Beatles?
Yeah.
Okay, well, which Beatles song?
Well, let it be.
Let It Be? It's really Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds from that era. Okay, I got you. All right, one more person, one more. You look very happy.
I am very happy.
What's your favorite song?
Okay, this isn't really my favorite song, but when you said have a soundtrack, a couple years ago I had cancer, and my theme song was, I get knocked down, but I
Like, get back up. I can't think of a better way to end than that song. Let me just say thank you for the honor of your attention tonight. Thank you for all the work that you do, and thank you for making this a better world to live in. Thank you. Thank you.